Hello, welcome to this tutorial. I'm going to be showing you how to create a navigation, very simple navigation bar that links to all of the pages on your website. So hopefully you enjoy it, and let's get started. I must apologize for my very loud clicky mouse. A new one is on the way. Anyway, so what I've got here is I've obviously got all of my code projects, and I've duplicated an empty one, so kind of this is my boilerplate, and I've called it nav links. You can call it whatever you like. You'll see that I've got all of the folders, and I've got one HTML file, which would be my home page. So our plan is to create multiple HTML pages, and then link them to each other so that they work like an actual menu. So let's get started. I'm going to jump into Visual Studio Code, and firstly I'm going to just create, you would have already done this perhaps, a boilerplate like the skeleton. So I'm going to be lazy and use Visual Studio Code's shortcuts. Let me just wrap this so that you can actually see what's going on. So here we have our page. You can see that we've got our head and our body. I am just going to call this guy, again, something logical that my browser will eventually find. So amazing nav page. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create all of the files that I need. So at the moment I've only got one, so I'm going to go into Visual Studio Code, create a new file, Control S, and save this. Make sure you're in the right folder, and in the root directory I'm going to save this as the pages that I want. So I want a home page, I want an about me page. Please notice that there are no spaces, and if I was going to use a space, I'd use an underscore or a dash, but the browser doesn't like spaces, so make sure that there's no spaces and it's saved as a .html file. I'm going to say save. Okay, and I'm just going to also again start the whole thing, and I don't want this to be called document, I want this to be called about me. Okay, and then let's create another page, so new file, Control S, or you can go and save. This one's going to be called a gallery, so all of my pretty pictures will be in here. Again, no spacing. Okay, so save. Let's just give it that. Okay, and then my final page is going to be one last page is Control S again, and this is going to be a contact me page .html. So there I've created multiple HTML files. Okay, obviously on all of these different pages different content will exist, and so it's important that I think about the structure, think about what's going to be on each of these pages. So that's really important. Other thing I'm going to do is just so that later on when we actually want to, I'm just going to make this a bit smaller, I don't really need it. Later on when we want to actually know that it's working correctly, I'm just going to differentiate by creating a heading, and this heading is just going to say whatever is on this page. So this is my contact page. Okay, this is clearly just for us to know what page we're on. I'm going to copy this, always saving, hey, and I'm going to just paste this and change my content for every page. So you can imagine this would be all of the cool things that you put on your page. I'm on my about me page. I think you really need to keep your head about you when you set these kind of things up. And then finally, this is my home page, so I'm going to say have a nice greeting and say welcome to my page. All right. So there we have our 4 different pages. Okay, this one I didn't set up the title, bad, gallery, Oh, that's definitely not how you spell gallery here. Okay, there we go, gallery. Let's just check. Contact me, gallery, about, and then my homepage. Okay, so I've set up everything that I really need. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to create the actual navigation area. Okay, in the old school way, old school before HTML5, we would be cool and we'd create a div and we'd call the div. So for example, sorry, I'm just using nav. I would create a div and then I'd actually give it a class name of nav. But why do that if you can literally just use the nav element that already exists? Okay, so old school way, it's not wrong, it's just like extra. So what I would do is literally just choose the nav element. There we go, beautiful. And what I'm going to do now within this nav is I'm going to create links. Also, you could just use, I'm going to create an unordered list. You could just go and use an A attribute, but then you're messing up all of your A's. So maybe you link to something else later on. And so it's best practice to put your actual nav links inside an unordered list and put them inside list items. Again, if you'll come across descendants later, or if you have already, you'll understand that makes sense when you're trying to style something. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create firstly an unordered list. All right. So again, remember, I'm using shortcuts. I'm cheating, so I just literally type in li, and there we have my first list item. Okay. I'm going to go the long way around, so you could just create the first link and then copy and paste it, but I just want you to make sure that you understand the whole process of it, so I'm going to take the long way around. Once I've got my unordered list and I've got my links inside my unordered list, what I'm going to do then is in between my link, my list, I'm going to create a link. And a link, as you know, is an A attribute. It stands for anchor. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to surprise you and actually just use a hashtag. Okay. Why am I using a hashtag? Because maybe I haven't created that page yet and I'm busy creating my index. Okay. So whenever you see a hashtag within HTML, it is actually a placeholder for something to still come. Okay, so this is my placeholder for now. We're going to fill it in a second. I just wanted you to make you aware that if you ever come across some code and there's a hashtag, it literally means this is a placeholder. Between my content, so I'm going to put it between my brackets here, and I'm going to call this homepage or home. All right. So that's literally the list item that I'm going to make. All right. We're going to come back and add in our actual link in a minute, but I first just want to get this all sorted out. So what I do again is I go between my list item, I create an A, and I'm just going to give it a placeholder for now. And this will be my second page, and I've decided it's going to be about. Okay, and because I'm cool, I'm only using the names, the words. I'm not using the whole about me. I'm keeping it quite slick and cool. Not really. Okay, cool. So we've got another hashtag, and my third page, it's going to be gallery. Also, I mean, this, you need to think logically. How would you want your visitor to kind of go along the menu and find what they need? So again, a hashtag, and my last one is going to be contact. Okay, so these are going to be this is actually going to appear on my in my web page. Let's have a look. So I'm just saving it, and you can see the formatting is just so beautiful. The indentation is nice. Thank you, Visual Studio Code. And if I refresh, you'll see that I have an unordered list, and I've got bullet points, and so it is. You'll see if I click on it, nothing happens. but they are all there. They're all acting as they should. Very exciting. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to add in those links. So I go back to my placeholder, and here is where I now link to my root folder. So I want to link to these files. So remember, it's kind of looking locally at my path on my computer. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first, it's in my root folder, so it's not inside another folder. I could put a page inside a folder, but I'm just going to access it directly. So I'm going to literally just type in the word index, and I'm lazy, I just let it do it for me. Okay, you'll see that something happens, that your link actually underlines. And in a Visual Studio Code, whenever you see something underlined, it means it's actually working. So if you don't see a link, it's because it's not working. Okay, so let's quickly link all of our pages. So this is called About Me. I'm taking out the hashtag, and you can see it's underlined. Brilliant. Gallery. And the last one is a contact. Okay, contact page. All right, so if I save now, you can see that these have got, they're underlined. And if I actually control click inside Visual Studio Code, it takes me to that page. So guys, if you ever like, why is this not working? Maybe your link is somehow broken. So test it that way. Make sure that it's underlined and that you can control click on it or command click on it. It will then open in a new, or it'll take you to that directory. Even with images, it's a brilliant way to check. Okay, so if we have a look now, and I refresh my page, and I click on About, oh my goodness, it takes me to the About page. But then I can't navigate. I'm stuck. Okay, so I can go back. But in our world, bad user experience is to make somebody click the back every time. So what we would do is now actually copy our nav onto every page. Okay, but before I do that, I'm just going to make sure that it's beautiful. Okay, I'm going to put this in something called a header. Okay, and again, not to be confused with your head, but I could style this header really nicely if I wanted to. So I'm just going to take the closing tag and put it underneath here. Okay, and this would help me section my website. Okay, and what I could also do, let's say I have my nav, so cool, I have my links. What if I wanted an image to also as my logo? So what I could do is I'm going to look inside my I'm going to first just call it a logo. Okay, and then the source of this should be in a folder called img. So there it is. And again, I'm lazy, so I just click, and can you guys see that my links are created? So I know this is working. And now if I save it and I go to my home page, we can see that we have a potato there. He's a bit big, but well, it's cool. You can see there he is. So you can see that, and also this is now a block on its own and a block on its own. So very easy to style and to position, whatever. Okay, so the other thing that I'm going to do, and this may confuse you at the moment, but this is just because we haven't really started CSS yet. But when you get to CSS, this will make all the sense in the world. Before I copy everything, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to my anchor tag, and I'm going to add a class name. This class could literally be anything, but I'm going to call it active. Okay, here's my class. I'm going to call it active because what I want to happen is every time somebody is on the page, I want the color of the actual home to be different so that they know where they are on my page. All right, so we'll have to set up some CSS in a bit, but what I'm going to do is now I'm going to copy. So this will come later. Don't panic about this. It'll all make sense in a bit. I'm now going to copy my whole header, and I'm going to paste it. So Control C. I'm going to paste it on every single page. Okay. So again, I'm going to come to just underneath my body. Okay, Control S. I'm going to go to my gallery. Again, just it's the beginning of my whole situation. Control S, and hopefully it's going to work. Control S. Okay, so I've saved everything. I'm going to come back to my page and I'm going to refresh. And now let's have a look at what happens when I click About and Gallery and Contact. And if I'm on my Contact page and I go to About, does it work? Yes. And if I go to my About page and I click on Gallery, does it work? Yes. So test that all of your links are working on all of your pages, but you can see that they are because we've worked very logically. We did everything step by step. So you'll see that if I'm on my About page, my Gallery link must work. And if I'm on my About page, my Contact Me must work. And if I'm on my About page, my Home link must work. All right. So make sure you test, and that everything is working perfectly. As you can see, it is working really, really well. Okay. At this stage, I'm just going to grab my list and check that I haven't forgotten anything. Okay, so we're going to... Okay, cool. So now we've copied and pasted. We've copied everything to a new page. All right. Now let's just literally get fancy. You do not have to do this or worry about this, but I just want to show you how this active class is going to work. So what I'm going to do is on each page, if I'm on my About Me page, my class for my index will be incorrect because I'm not on my index page, I'm on my About Me page. So I'm literally just going to make sure that the active class is set to the correct anchor on the correct page. So here we have About Me and that's active. Perfect. If they're on my gallery page, then this will be on my gallery page. Okay, Control S. And then my contact page is the last one. Now you'll see that if I actually go yes. If I go now and test it, you'll see nothing's changed at all. Just nothing. Okay. Oh, you can see I've made a problem here. So what's going to happen is in my CSS, and guys, again, don't freak out. You just need to know this foundation now so that later you aren't like, what? So from here, if you've got this right, you're sorted. Okay. This is like, well done. Hand in your file. You got it right. But just to show you a little extra magic, what I've done is I've created a style sheet. Okay, and guys, this is coming, don't panic. What I'm going to quickly do is link it, okay, to everything. Again, don't worry about this. And it's inside my CSS folder, and there it is. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this to every page. Again, else it won't work. Okay. Okay, here we go. One more. Okay, Control S. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to my CSS, and if I wanted to style something, I would literally call this name and then make it pretty. So in my style sheets, look what I'm going to do. I'm going to call the class. So when I call a class, I use a dot. And I say active because that was the name that I gave it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the color of the text disgusting so that we can see it. Let's choose green. Okay, not too bad. So I'm going to add a color to this. Again, don't worry, you'll get there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and refresh. And you'll see that because I'm on my home page, my actual, wherever I am, because I've set that specific link to say active, you'll see that it makes every single one the right color. You'll see that as I'm clicking on these links, they're opening in the same tab. They're not opening in a new tab the whole time, which is awesome if we it's an internal link. So that's perfect. We're busy mulling around in our own site. But what if we wanted to create a link that took us to an external site? So best example is if we wanted to create a link that took us to the famous Facebook page. So I'm just going to quickly grab the Facebook link. Okay, don't worry. So I'm putting in my link here, and I'm going to also give my person an idea of what this is. Click here to find me on Facebook. Okay, so let's have a look at what this link looks like. If I say Control S, come to my home, here's my Facebook link. Awesome. If I click on it, you'll notice that it's taken my user away from my website, and that's not good, because you actually want your user to stay on your website for as long as possible. Okay, you don't want to drag them away, and then imagine they start looking at you on Facebook, and then they find their friend Cindy, and then 5 years later they're like, oh, where was I? Which often happens, let's be honest. So you don't want them to have to click back every time. Again, not good user experience. So what we have in HTML is something called a target. And what a target does is it allows us to decide where and what happens with the link when it's clicked on. And so what we're going to add here is we're going to add the word target, and you're going to see I'm putting it inside the opening tag. Okay, target. And there are a whole bunch of options. So check on W3 Schools, the one that we're looking for is the word blank. Okay, and if I save now, I wonder, does it have a, I don't know if it has none. I'm sure it's just blank. So what we do is now we save it, and if we refresh and we click on our link, perfection, it opens in a new tab. Okay, sometimes we want to pull our user away from our site or take them somewhere else, but it's always good practice to still let them have the opportunity to come back and see what's going on or whatever. All right, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something. I hope it's been good. Thank you for joining me, and good luck with making your link.